Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Handgun World Podcast, episode 592 to be exact. This is a practical show done by a practical guy, and that is me. This is also being recorded on YouTube as Bob's Bullet Points, which is the name of my YouTube channel. Check it out over there. The first 15 minutes is going to be on YouTube. This show is brought to you by Keepers Concealment, the leading authorities on appendix carry, and I am telling you what, they make really good stuff. Here is my Glock 43X in a Keepers Concealment errand holster. This is great for appendix carry. I've got two of these, one Keepers holster, and this wedge helps it become real comfortable and keeps it tight in close to your body. This is excellent for carrying something like a Glock 43X. You can check them out at keepersconcealment.com. They are also affiliates of CCW Safe Legal Protection that you definitely need to have if you are going to carry a handgun. So this week I am going to talk about conditioning. How we are conditioned, how the anti-gun people condition us. Now, I wanted to say for just a minute there, I wanted to say how the anti-gun left conditions us or tries to brainwash us, but I shouldn't say that. It's not just the left that's anti-gun. There are a lot of people from all political sides of the aisle that are anti-gun. Over the years, they have conditioned us. They've conditioned our minds. Maybe not you watching this, maybe not those of you who are listening to the audio program, but the people that they've conditioned are the people who don't traditionally carry a gun, use a gun, shoot a gun, or get into guns. And let me just give you some examples here. Let me share some stuff with you. Some of you know this, but I also have a lot of new listeners, and I know that maybe you've not heard some of this before. Let me start with the ammunition count. This is how anti-gun people condition our minds, okay? 1,000 rounds is a lot of ammo. You ever heard somebody say that? Huh? Think about that. Who's heard somebody say, 1,000 rounds? Why do you need 1,000 rounds? You hear that all the time. Or they say, this person was found with 150 rounds of ammunition in their car or in their home. Really? 150 rounds of ammunition? That's nothing, folks. One competition match is 100 or 110 rounds. 150 rounds might get you through half of a day of a training class, maybe not even that. 1,000 rounds, a case of ammunition is 2 training classes, maybe in some cases 1 training class, and that's it. That's not much ammunition. If you carry a gun, if you are a serious concealed carrier, in my opinion, you're going to be carrying these things to save your life. 1,000 rounds is minimum that you have. You've heard me talk about the 1,000-round trigger job. Give every gun that you have, that you carry, and bet your life on, give it a 1,000-round trigger job. In other words, shoot it 1,000 rounds. This Glock 43X has had more, and the trigger breaks in nicely. It's had more than 1,000 rounds. So that's one way that they condition your mind. They ask you, well, why do you need a gun? You know my answer, right? I carry a gun because I can't carry a cop. You know, that started off kind of like a joke, and I didn't invent that. That has been said for years. But think about it. There's some truth to that. We can't carry a police officer with us all the time. First of all, it's not really a police officer's absolute duty to save your life, even if he happens to be there. Most good police officers would. Most good police officers would do what they could to stop an attack on you or your loved ones, but it's your responsibility. That's why I need a gun. Have you ever heard of home invasions? That's why you need a gun. A lot of times people say, anti-gun people say, well, you shouldn't go anywhere where you might need a gun. If that's the case, then don't go home. You're probably just as likely to need a gun at home as you are out on the street somewhere. So you need a gun. Anti-gunners have also tried to condition us, saying, well, you can just call 911. Okay, we all know how that works, right? Or how it doesn't work. And I've heard stories like it takes 30 minutes for police to get there. Seriously, come on. People really expect you just call 911. And now, lately, with all the defunding of the police movements that certain politicians have advocated, and in some cities and some states they have defunded their police, well, what good is 911 going to do? And even now, these same politicians that wanted to defund the police because at that time it was the right thing to do, right? Well, they're being forced to backtrack. They're being forced to rethink it, and many of them are actually even changing and getting rid of their defund the police. But even if the police are fully funded, okay, and fully supported, police officers are not going to be with you 24/7. You can't just call 911. They condition you. Guns are unsafe. In fact, words mean things. I'm in sales. Most of you know that's been my profession now. I was telling my son the other day, 36 years I've been in sales. And, one of the things that I learned is words mean things. What you say, the words that come out of your mouth mean things. Gun violence is what a lot of the anti-gun people like to use to condition your mind. See, this is all subtle. It's all very subtle, it's all very crafty, and it's all intentional, I'm telling you. And they say things like gun violence. Well, guns don't commit violence. This Glock 43X has not committed any violence of any kind. It won't commit any violence. This Shadow Systems DR920 Elite, fantastic weapon, but just because it's a weapon, it's not going to cause violence. You know what causes violence? People in their minds, in their hearts. Okay? Evil does not exist in the holster. It exists in the hearts of men and women. And but the anti-gun people are going to try to condition you, and they're going to call it gun violence, as if these guns have a mind of their own. They don't. Let me show you something here. I can commit violence with my folding knife. Okay? I can commit violence if I want to beat somebody over the head with my Streamlight flashlight. There's a lot of different ways that I can commit violence. I can go get a baseball bat and I can commit violence. I can get a golf club. I can commit a lot of violence. Guns don't commit violence. So be wary of that. Whenever you hear somebody say gun violence, and politicians love to say it, and politicians from both sides, Republican, Democrat, I don't care who they are. Gun violence. They like to use that term. That is total crap. Assault rifles. What a myth that is. Assault rifles. Once again, assault is an action. Assault is not a weapon. Okay? Assault is an action. It's a strategy. It's an intention. That's what assault is. Okay? Look it up. Look up the definition of assault. If you look up the definition of assault, it doesn't say rifle. It shouldn't say rifle. It's the wrong definition if it does. Again, I've learned language, and I've learned that words mean things. And there are no such things as assault rifles. I'm sorry. Some of you might want to argue with me on that. That's fine. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, put a comment down below. I'd love to hear it. If you're listening to my audio podcast, send me an email, handgunworld@gmail.com. Put a comment on Facebook or on Twitter, because I always post my shows on social media. I'm much more active back on Twitter, by the way, right now. I'm much more active on Twitter. Thankfully, it seems like Twitter is moving into a direction now where they're going to continue or get better at allowing free speech. Oh, here's another one. I'm looking at my notes. I spent a few days making notes on this. Gun owners are nuts. Gun owners are gun nuts. These are nutty people. Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you that I have been an avid gun owner, a concealed carrier, a competitive shooter, and a firearms instructor. I've been all of those since 2005. I haven't been teaching since 2005. I started in 2010, but I was actively shooting in 2005, so almost 17 years now. Some of the absolute best people, the finest people that I have ever met, come from the Second Amendment community. They come from, they're freedom-loving people. Not just Americans, by the way. I've met people from other countries that are freedom-loving people. I have a lot of listeners and viewers from outside of the United States. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Second Amendment people are some of the best that I have ever known and ever talked to. They are not nuts. They are not gun nuts. You know what? They just simply believe in the concept of freedom. They understand that the ability to possess, to carry, to keep and bear arms means freedom. It's as simple as that. It's not about hunting. It's really not even completely about self-defense. It's about freedom. That's what it was about. That's why the Second Amendment was written. So that the United States of America, a newly formed country at the time that the Second Amendment was written, so that we could protect our freedom. That's what it's all about. So gun owners are not nuts. Possessing 1,000 rounds of ammunition is not nuts. Possessing several magazines for your handgun, you're not nuts, okay? If you have several magazines for your handgun. A normal capacity magazine, like a 17-round magazine, I left it in the safe, sorry, like goes into this Shadow Systems DR920 or a Glock 17 or a full-size M&P or a full-size SIG 320, for example. That's not nuts. That's standard capacity. That's normal capacity. Even if somebody had a 100-round magazine put in their firearm, they're not nuts. It just means that they plan on doing a lot of shooting, okay? That's it. Gun owners are not nuts. Ammunition owners are not nuts. Here's a conditioning technique by the anti-gun people. Here's another one. Here's the next one on my notes. Only trained people should carry guns. Think about that one. Only trained people. First of all, I'm here to tell you, and I bet my viewers and my listeners who are law enforcement, you know, I'm not ex-military, I'm not ex-law enforcement, and I'm not an industry insider, I'm not a gun writer or anything like that. I'm just an everyday guy, talking about my Second Amendment rights and sharing it with you. Talk to some ex-law enforcement people. I know a lot of ex-law enforcement. Ask them how much training that they get in law enforcement. I'm not talking about the SWAT cops. I'm not talking about the specialized law enforcement units. I'm talking about your average cop. How much training does he or she get with their firearms? I've had a lot of police officers come through my classes. I have shot competition with a lot of active and former police officers. Many of them are not very good shooters. and I am not disparaging police officers, okay? I love police officers. I love cops. A lot of them just simply can't shoot that well because they don't get a lot of training. They just don't. So the fallacy that the left, well, there I go. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Not just the left. Anti-gunners, mostly from the left, but from politicians so-called right that hate guns. Only trained people should own and carry guns. I know a lot of civilians that have a lot more training than law enforcement officers, and guess what? They're much better. They're much more responsible. They're better shooters. They're much more responsible. That's the thing. And here in Texas, by the way, we became, I think, the 21st state. I did a video on Texas constitutional carry. I will link below this video. I'll put a link to that video. It's pretty popular. And I talked about Texas becoming, I believe we were 21st or 22nd state in the United States to allow constitutional carry. Means that this allows you to carry your gun right here, the United States Constitution. By the way, see how small this book is, this pamphlet that is the United States Constitution. It's very small. There's not much to this, okay? But it limits the power of the federal government. And in states that have constitutional carry, there is no evidence that crime has gone up or that shootings have gone up or that problems have occurred, or that that state is more dangerous than a state that trains people. There's no evidence of that. I am a big fan of getting training. States that require you to take a class, like Texas used to, doesn't anymore, as long as you're 21 years of age and you're not a convicted felon or you're not otherwise prohibited from owning and carrying a firearm. Technically, it's unconstitutional to require you to have a license. And it's not really training. The concealed carry classes weren't really training. All it was an instructor standing up there, most of them. Some of them were very good instructors. I know some very good license to carry instructors. Most of them were just talking about when and where you can and cannot carry your gun. They weren't really giving any training anyway. But the fact that only trained people should carry guns, you know what? If that's true, if only trained people should carry guns, then a lot of police officers should not carry guns. Even some in the military should not carry guns, because even many military men and women really don't have a whole lot of training with a firearm. After basic training, a lot of them have told me personally, Bob, never really got much training on my weapon after that. Food for thought. I'm going to go ahead and conclude the video right now. So thanks for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, check out everything that's on my channel. I do a lot of Bob's Bullet Points episodes, and I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you tuning in. Please be sure to support this show. I've got a Patreon page. I'd love to get your support. A link will be below this video for Patreon. I'll also put a link to my audio podcast if you don't already subscribe. And I think it'd be great to have you as both a listener and a regular viewer of this channel. So I'll catch you on the next video. Shoot straight and shoot safe.